Hello, team players. If you've had a fantasy of commanding a horde of undead instead of just like 4 or less, then have I got an archetype for you. I am, of course, talking about the necrologist archetype. We've got a lot to talk about with just the dedication, so let's get right into this. To take this dedication, you must be able to cast spells, and particularly the summon undead spell. But with this dedication, you have a horde of undead. But this means you can't have another companion, like an animal companion or a familiar, unless you have an ability that allows you to have more than one. If so, your horde counts as one of your animal companions. Your horde doesn't attack you or your allies, but otherwise is mindless. It is huge sized and has a speed of 20 feet. It uses your defensive statistics, but it can't be grappled, restrained, or prone. It's a horde, so you can't grapple it or trip it. The horde has resistance to physical damage, but weakness to area and splash damage. And any damage the horde takes, you take instead. With the raise the horde action, your horde appears anywhere within 30 feet. And you can choose whether it to be skeletons or zombies, which determines what type of damage it does. The horde lasts until the end of your turn, but it can be sustained for up to 1 minute. The horde does damage with the mobbing assault action, and if your horde is made up of skeletons, they do slashing damage, and if it's made up of zombies, they do bludgeoning damage. This affects every enemy around the horde in a 5-foot emanation. So yes, your horde can hit multiple enemies, which is phenomenal. The second feat you can take from this archetype is Dismal Harvest. So if your horde knocks a enemy down to 0 hit points, you get temporary hit points, which is an okay feat, but to be honest, because your horde has to be the one to reduce an enemy to 0 hit points, you're not going to use this much. Not a great feat here, but it's okay. Next is Grasping Corpses. So your horde makes enemies off guard until the start of your next turn. This is a very effective feat. You're not really grappling because there's another feat that will let you grab enemies, but making multiple foes off guard is a big deal. With Shambling March, your horde now has a speed of 30 feet. Pretty basic, but very effective. As your horde being faster, big deal. Next we have another good feat called Death Guard. So us and our allies can share the same space as our horde. And we get concealment while we're doing so, which effectively means stealthy builds love this feat, as it makes it that much easier to stealth around. With Ghost Song, we can now make our horde made up of spirits, which are incorporeal and have a whole bunch of immunities, and deal void damage instead of slashing or bludgeoning. This is an awesome feat, because a horde of spirits is actually pretty nice. Next up is Preserve the Horde. So if we cast Summon Undead, we can sustain our horde as a free action. This effectively means at high levels, we can have one big undead and our horde. And we only need to spend one action to sustain the undead we summoned with Summon Undead. Because our horde can be sustained for a free action. Massive deal. With Dance Macabre, once per 10 minutes, our horde can move through the space of large or smaller creatures while using mobbing assaults. So we're moving through the space and we're damaging them. In addition, we can also reposition enemies while we're doing this. Phenomenal feat here, especially since we can reposition enemies to flanking positions for our allies. Shift Horde allows us to change the type of undead that our horde is made up of, which can be very effective depending on what we're facing. With Wailing Dead, if our horde is made up of spirits, we can have them wail. which does mental damage and can possibly frighten enemies if they fail a saving throw. Mental damage is pretty nice, but frightened is like one of the best debuffs in this entire system, and it's very common. So, frightening enemies, big deal. Massive deal, in fact. Next we have Death Rattle. So we can dismiss our horde in order to give enemies the drained condition. If you've played this game as much as I have, you know that the drained condition is extremely rare. And with good reason, because not only does it lower their fortitude saves, but drained also lowers their HP. So, that's why it's rare. And being able to inflict that on enemies, very, very good. And the final feat for this archetype is In the Horde's Grip. Now, when we use mobbing assaults, we can make foes grabbed, or of course restrained if they critically fail. Also, any creature that is grabbed by this ability takes persistent bleed damage too, if they fail on the saving throw. So our horde is grabbing them and dealing bleed damage. Pretty massive deal. And that's the archaeologist archetype done. I'm really looking forward to using this archetype in my next build. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment what you think of this archetype. And of course, if you want to talk even more about it, you can check out my Discord server. And of course, if you're interested in a path builder for any of my builds, you can check out my Patreon page. Link is in the description. And if you enjoy content like this, here's another video you can check out right now. Thank you guys so much for watching. And remember, teamwork is vital. It helps us solve problems.